So let's start with the first big premiere that happened. I believe it happened at Venice, which was Gravity, right?
Mm-hmm. Gravity is just getting, everyone is just raving about it. I mean,
so this is the follow-up to Children of Men, and it's been, 6-7 years since Children of Men?
I would say it's been at least 7 years. 7 or 8, yeah.
So this is two-handers, George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, Lost in Space. It's told in a very outside-of-the-box fashion, and as I had heard earlier this year with the buzz on this movie, they say that Sandra Bullock, this is her career performance in this film, and that the movie is incredibly intense. And some of it I've read kind of as overpraise. I think that Hollywood Reporter said there's never been a more visionary movie set in space. I'm like, are you forgetting about 2001?
Obviously O was a lot too from just some of the scenes in the trailer. I mean,
anything that takes place in space. I mean, that's how defining Kubrick's work is. O's tips a hat to that film. But so I'm really looking forward to this. What is this, October or Thanksgiving?
October 4th. October 4th is the
Yeah. I'll definitely be there. That's a movie that I'm definitely going out first day to go and see, just because I want to get it under my belt before I hear anything else about it, or I'm trying to stay away from reviews or anything, because I know it just looks fantastic just from the preview alone.
And they say it's essential. It's one of those essential 3D. And if you can get it, IMAX movies, just because of the vision of it. I think it was shot by Emmanuel Lubezki, who's done Malick stuff as of late.
Right.
So he also did Children of Men as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean,
it's a movie that makes good use of, and it beat Children of Men's kind of because the centerpiece of that film was that unbroken tracking shot. So this one has one, I think, in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Oh, God, okay.
Yeah. Which you see a lot of in the trailer. I mean, you see a minute and a half of it in that trailer.
Right.
I think it's going to make you feel sick watching that film,
Well, they say it does for space or whatever what Jaws did for water.
Yeah.
That's what I read. Someone said that, so...
Yeah, which I think is kind of like what's the likelihood of that most of us will ever see space? But all of us can go in the ocean.
Yeah.
That movie scared me off to outer space completely.
Now growing up, I thought we'd all be in space by now, but growing up, I thought we'd all be in space by now, but that obviously never happened. So
Venice just premiered Parkland, which is the movie about the Parkland Hospital, the weekend that JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald were assassinated, or that week span. Which this is an interesting take because it follows the doctors and all the peripheral characters in that world during that time of crisis. I think.
Have you seen the trailer yet?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen the trailer.
It doesn't look promising.
Hollywood Reporter loved it. Somebody else was lukewarm on it, but I know the Hollywood Reporter says in particular Paul Giamatti as Zapruder is very good in it, and then the actor that plays Oswald's brother, James Badge Dale, plays Oswald's brother, and they cite him as a standout performance. Billy Bob Thornton and Ron Livingston are in it, and Zac Efron and Colin Hanks and Marcia Gay Harden.
Oh my God, everybody's in it.
I like the cast, no question about it, but the preview just makes it look so dead. Lots of lines like, "We've never lost a president in our lives. We're not going to lose one now," and all these things like that. It's just bad. Looks like bad writing, and I don't know.
So if that were actually said in the emergency room, would you have cut that out of the movie?
Think how freaked out those people must have been. Just think how freaked out everyone must have been.
I don't know. I don't know that a movie. I don't know that a movie set in Parkland in that day. I don't know if there's really a movie there. Honestly.
Oh my God. Are you
really
kidding me?
don't.
Like the most cataclysmic event in our history
I know.
in the 20th century?
What I'm saying is that it's this story that we all already know. It's like going over old shit over and over again.
It's not an assassination movie. It's actually not the story that we've been told before. It's of the humanity of all of those doctors, and there's Marcia Gay Harden was telling us that there's a African American nurse in the operating room that's crying over Kennedy's body because what Kennedy represented to her in the civil rights movement, and there's a lot of like side stories there that are fascinating.
Okay, maybe it'll be good.
I think Kennedy.
Maybe I'm wrong. It just doesn't look that great to me.
Forget about all the conspiracy theories and all that. I think you're living in today, and you think of the Kennedys as really the Kennedys are really the closest thing that we have to royalty in this country. I don't believe the Bushes or the Clintons come even close, and it's a tragic story. I mean, the Kennedy saga is a tragedy of epic proportions. And I think this president, as I've gotten older, I realized, wow, if he had not been assassinated, our country may be very different today.
Very different, and I mean that's what makes it so particularly haunting. But that's not what Parkland's about. I mean, Parkland's not really about Kennedy.
No, but I think that it adds to
it brings
the
to
lore
mind
and the interest.
What we missed, what we lost. Anyway, there's another movie that premiered at the festival, which was Prisoners. Now, I know that people kind of rumbled when this trailer came out, like, it looks bad or whatever, but I'd heard from the beginning of the year that this was a great, strong movie. This is Hugh Jackman as a father whose two children are abducted. And what's the guy's name? Jake Gyllenhaal is the detective on the case, and Jackman gets to be vigilante father and kidnaps Paul Dano, who gives another performance where he doesn't wash his hair in this movie, and kind of tortures Paul Dano to figure out what happened to his children. But what I've heard about it from everybody that I've read reviews from that say this is an incredibly dark, intense, really effective movie and a morality piece, and they said this is not multiplex material. I mean, they say this is pretty brutal emotionally and in terms of the violence depicted in the movie.
I was shocked. I mean, because from the trailer, you are led to believe that. I mean, it's not a great trailer by any stretch of the imagination. And after reading the stuff, I think it was last night or the night before, everyone is raving about it. So it's another one that you're like, wow, okay.
That opens September 20th. And they say that Hugh Jackman has a really complex part. I mean, you vacillate all the way through the movie between empathy and really kind of not finding it difficult to be on his side. So it doesn't shy away from the moral complexity.
The trailer tries to sell it as an average movie, so that's why. I mean, I think that's my problem with the trailer. Also, the trailer is easily a minute too long because I think it gives away a lot of stuff. I actually kind of cut it off at the minute and a half mark. I said, okay, I've seen enough. But the trailer is trying to sell it as just your average, action-y sort of revenge flavor movie. But
I think because the studio knows that they're sitting on something that is a great movie, but how do you sell that? That's the old challenge of that kind of filmmaking, and they make it look like Ransom or something.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm looking forward to that one.
So we'll know about that in a couple of weeks because that opens the 20th. Massive raves for 12 Years a Slave. That had an advanced premiere at Telluride, including the lead performance. Now, how do you pronounce this gentleman's name?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Okay. They say that he's the shoe-in for Best Actor this year.
So are we looking at finally maybe a dominant? You're going to have a lot. I think it's great. You're going to have a lot of great African American performances this year. I mean, you have Forrest Whitaker is obviously I think a front shoe-in, 12 Years a Slave, and then you have Idris Elba for Long Walk to Freedom.
And Michael Jordan, Michael L. Jordan, is that his name? For
Michael B. Jordan for Fruitvale Station. I hope that they remember that. I'm kind of shocked that never really caught on Fruitvale Station. I'm really kind of surprised that didn't take off like they hoped it would. But it could be. Remember, I definitely think there's a Spirit nomination there. I'm just kind of shocked it never found, given the tragedy that we had this summer. And obviously Weinstein trying to, wanted to desperately, make note of that, and it was not a crossover film.
No, although it did play it did get some, at least here in Atlanta, which is, a largely black city.
Oh, it got a wide release. It got a wide release, but it didn't catch on. It didn't catch on, though. I mean, that's what I was surprised by.
Well, who knows? Definitely, like you said, Jerry, it'll be Spirit Awards love for it, and hopefully that'll translate into Oscar love. But I think if it does get Oscar love, then that changes the rule book for Fruitvale Station, and they can re-release it, and it'll ignite interest in it again, and people will go see it.
Yeah.
That missed it the first time around. But yeah, so you're really getting a sense of Oscar frontrunners and what movies might be hot air, just empty buzz. Now Stephen Frears has two movies. One's an HBO movie, Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight. Big cast in that movie. Frank Langella. I can't think of who else is in it. Barry Levinson is in it, and it's a big ensemble cast. But that premiered earlier this year, I believe, at Cannes, and it got kind of tepid notices. But his other movie just premiered at Telluride, at Venice. It's called Philomena, I believe it is. It's Judi Dench and Steve Coogan. And they say it's a great, great movie, and they said this is Judi Dench at her finest. This could easily be another nominated performance.
I definitely see that, yeah.
Heartwarming drama.
Definitely. Yeah, it looks kind of like it's teetering on that edge of heartwarming drama and like extreme criticism towards the Catholic Church, who's apparently the villain in the film.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in seeing anything that Steve Coogan is in. By the way, because I just think he's a fascinating performer, and
he's doing interesting stuff now. He really is. He's getting some opportunities, and he's gravitating towards films that you wouldn't previous to this have connected him with, which is
of course, yeah.
Then the Kelly Reichardt, her new movie. She directed Wendy and Lucy and a movie called Old Joy, and the one that just came out, the Meek's Cutoff, last year. So she has a very minimalist indie style to her, but she's tackled her first thriller, and this is called Night Moves.
Moves.
That's brave in itself to make a thriller called Night Moves for anyone with cinema vocabulary.
Yeah. Wow.
This was Jesse Eisenberg, Dakota Fanning, and Peter Sarsgaard. It's like an environmental thriller, eco-terrorism thriller. They say that's really, really terrific too. That it works on.
I can't wait for that. She's one of my favorite filmmakers.
No, that should be very interesting. Hopefully she'll do a better job than they did with The East earlier this year.
Although that got fairly good reviews, right? I mean, The East.
It got good reviews. It got a lot of buzz, but it just like I was watching it, I was just like, it's something really. It just didn't gel. It didn't work for me. I think the one from Kelly is going to work because, like you say, minimalist. This person is not interested in. I've seen 3 films from her. Showy is not her thing. She doesn't care about that. She's much more. She has a story to tell, and she's much more interested in that. And I don't think the story is going to break down the way The East did, because when you do watch The East and when you realize what it is, you're just like, who the hell cares? But I think this other one, though, Night Moves, might be the real deal as far as eco-terrorism goes. It won't cop out. The one thing you can say about all three of her films, copping out is not one of them. She goes for it. She goes for it, and she doesn't care.
Kevin Smith did cop out.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. You're absolutely right.
She actually did a movie in the late '90s called River of Grass, which is probably the one movie of hers that even fans of hers haven't seen. But I saw it on VHS, and it's good too. It's actually like none of her films are funny, but this one is. Anyway, I mean, she's just fantastic. I love her.
Jason Reitman has a new movie called Labor Day. It's a real tour de force for him, and outside of his usual comfort zone. It's an adaptation that's pretty loyal to the source material, and it's the one where critics are saying that his voice isn't front and center. Like, he's like a great actor. He's kind of buried himself in the world someone else has created and given life to it. It's kind of an offbeat love story. What's his name? Josh Brolin, an escaped convict that takes a woman hostage in her home who has I believe she has a son, and they fall in love, and it's that kind of, what do they call that syndrome? The prisoner in
the Stockholm syndrome.
Is it Stockholm? Yeah, Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. They say it's a very kind of morose love story. And by the way, Jason Reitman does something every year where he has a stage reading of a screenplay, and this year is, I believe it's Boogie Nights. At Telluride, and he's announcing the cast on his Twitter as the days go on. So.
Oh wow! Well, that's a great script.
Who will play Dirk Diggler? Who will play Amber Wade?
We didn't mention the name of his new movie, which is suitably enough called Labor Day. So I think that's exciting. It's time for him to break out of that sort of snarky kind of mode and move into something a little bit more dramatic.
His first movie was an adaptation of a great Christopher Buckley book, and I still think one of his best movies, Thank You for Smoking. That's a really and outside of In the Company of Men, one of Aaron Eckhart's best performances. I guess Juno and Up in the Air and obviously Young Adult and Juno definitely have the same kind of vibe because they're written by the same person. But this will be, I guess, so Labor Day is based on a book or a play or something, or
it's based on a novel.
A novel. Okay, novel. So it's like the second novel. Okay, interesting. Okay.
But completely not the voice of Jason Reitman that we're accustomed to. So it's working outside the box, which is very nice for him. And then Ivan is directing Arbor Day right now as we speak, so that's good. Nicolas Cage has a new buzzed about movie from director David Gordon Green. It's called Joe.
Sounds like a comeback. Yeah, it sounds like a comeback for both of them.
Yeah, I feel like Nicolas Cage has reached a point. Well, I feel like this because he said it. He did a string of experimental movies where he wanted to kind of challenge naturalism in acting and on and on and on. And then he said, I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to wait for the right script to come to me that would allow me to go back to a form of minimalism as an actor. And Joe was that script. I saw The Frozen Ground, which was another movie he just did. With he and John Cusack about the Alaskan serial killer. And it plays like a procedural and not much else. There's not much investment in that movie, and no one comes across as very good in it, with the exception of maybe, who else is in it? Is it Selena Gomez or the other chick?
I don't know. I don't know those Disney whores. I don't know them all by heart, so it could be any of them.
Let me find out who it is, because she's the best thing in it. Vanessa Hudgens is in it. She's really good in it, actually. Anyway, but Joe, people like his performance in it, and they like the movie fine. But I haven't heard any, absolutely raving notices on it. But
yeah, I still haven't watched Prince Avalanche yet. David Gordon Green.
I watched that this week, and I tell you, I really liked that movie. Prince
I want to
Avalanche.
see it because Paul Rudd is playing against type, and I really want to check that out. I just have to be in the mood for it, and I just don't want the cable bill to skyrocket too high.
It's really good. It's extremely well directed. That's kind of a return to David Gordon Green's more comfortable area. But it's really just those two guys in it, him and Paul Rudd and Emil Hirsch, who's also I should say is starting to complete his complete transformation into Jack Black. Like in front of our eyes. Like,
oh, okay.
All he needs to do is he needs to gain about 30 more pounds, and he'll be like Jack Black's twin brother. But
oh God,
it's really shocking how much they look alike. But it's really well written film. It makes only one misstep towards the latter third, but it's just those two guys out in the middle of nowhere. Painting lines on the road and talking about their problems with women and so forth, and it's pretty dang good.
You know what his main inspiration for that movie was, don't you?
No.
It was Scarecrow. His next movie will star Pacino. So here you go, full circle.
No, but I mean, it's interesting. You said, two guys who are painting lines in the road in Texas in the late 80s just obviously have problems with the rest of society. But obviously have problems with women, among other things. I mean, they have problems. If you are doing that, I know it has work that needs to be done, but obviously you have issues.
Yeah.
There's a movie called Palo Alto, which is Gia Coppola. I think Coppola's granddaughter, Gia. And it stars Emma Roberts and James Franco.
Is it based on his short stories?
Yeah, one of the DPs that we talk about in this Art of Cinematography series, we talked to her, Autumn Gerald. She shot it. So we talk about the movie a little bit with her. And she was preparing for the Venice premiere when we spoke, and it actually got really good reviews. People like it. They don't quite like Franco's directorial effort, which is Last I Lay Dying, or what is it? As I Lay
Dying, isn't it? William Faulkner.
William Faulkner.
Yeah.
What was he thinking? What is he going to do? The Sound and the Fury and that? How do you adapt Faulkner into good luck with that. Oh, I want to see this. And Dean, we're going to see it together. We're going to get drunk and we're going to trip on acid and watch this. Because I want to see how you adapt Faulkner into a movie. Maybe a Light in August you could do, but Sound and the Fury and oh God, this is going to be hilarious.
James Franco is easily one of the most unpredictable people in all of Hollywood. Like you just cannot guess what he's going to do next.
That's the problem, though. I think he's become, in one way, he's become predictable because he's going to do something. The next thing, what is he going to do? Cut off his leg to be in a movie? I mean, Hey, I want to play John Wayne Bobbitt. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to play John Wayne Bobbitt movie. I'm going to really have the actress cut it off.
He wants to play Jay Sebring, which I think would be an interesting movie. They're making a documentary about Jay Sebring, too. Jay Sebring is the hairstylist.
Killed by the Manson family.
Yeah. So the other one is Errol Morris's documentary. It's done in kind of the vein of A Fog of War. And this time it's about Donald Rumsfeld. It's a lot less successful than Fog of War, because I think in the Fog of War he was dealing with McNamara at a stage in his life where he was very introspective. I mean, McNamara stood his ground, but you could see he was very vulnerable and wounded by a lot of events in his life, and he expressed that. Not so
in that book.
Rumsfeld.
In 95 or 94 or 95, he writes in retrospect where he does say I was wrong, basically. We haven't heard Rumsfeld say he's wrong, and we're not going to hear it now. That's if you guys are expecting, you're not going to hear after after this thing in Syria, you're not going to hear it at least for 3 years, okay? No one from the Bush administration is going to say anything until Obama's out of office that they were wrong.
That's true.
So let me ask you this. So he interviews Rumsfeld.
It's exactly like The Fog of War. I mean, it's the same format.
Oh my God! I'm surprised he would do that because it was something that you would think he would do, or you were thinking, would someone do this with Rumsfeld? And when The Fog of War came out, and wow, okay, I didn't think he'd take the bait quite like. All right, interesting.
Well, I mean, Cheney did the same thing. I mean, it's time for those people to come out of the darkness, I guess. But the thing about it is, it's amazing because with documentarians, it really does show that you can have all the skill in the world, and obviously Errol Morris is a very skilled filmmaker, but the success or failure of your film depends entirely on your subject, what your subject gives you. And Rumsfeld doesn't give much, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think you can get much out of him. You're not going to get, I mean, just watch a press conference from like 10 years ago. You're not going to get much
and just forget
him.
about what you think of him politically or blah, blah, blah. That's not what makes or breaks him as a subject. What makes or breaks him as a subject is, does he have any sense of introspection about his life and what he's done in his...
Yeah. I mean, is there going to be anything that you're going to be able to discover about him? Because if he keeps it all in his back pocket, then the answer is no.